Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I'm doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today I have with us, she's an author, and she has two books out right now. The first one is called The Shepherd and the Horned Girl. And the second one just came out. It is called The Shepherd and the Reaper. I have with us Brianna Bright. Brianna, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hello, Travis. How are you?
I am doing great. I've been excited. Listen, we've been doing a lot of canceling and moving back and this and that. I'm finally glad we're actually doing this now.
Oh, me too. Yes. As I love the show. Super excited to be on here.
Thank you. Yes, I know you're a huge fan because I see that you are liking and watching all of my content, which I appreciate.
Well, I mean, what's not to like? Independent authors, directors, filmmakers. I love it all. It's exactly up my alley.
Awesome. So let's go into your first book.
Okay.
And then we're going to go into the follow-up. Let's go into The Shepherd and the Horned Girl. Tell us a little bit about it.
In The Shepherd and the Horned Girl, we follow, as the title states, a shepherd who is the only witness to the disappearance of his neighbor, a young girl who disappears into rather supernatural fog that comes onto their coastal village quite frequently. There are many superstitions and folktales about this fog, and as our protagonist comes to find out, these are true happenings. And when he goes into the fog to find the missing girl, she returns with a pair of horns, claws, the things that she needed to be scarier than the things that scared her, and how they team up with some other characters to take on the supernatural antagonists of the fog.
Wow. So what gave you inspiration for the story?
Okay, so my inspiration for the story was a piece of artwork that my husband made. I can actually grab it real quick if you'd like to see it.
Sure.
It's right over here. I will grab it. So this is what my husband affectionately calls the Squizzard, and who in the book becomes the messenger, who is a supernatural entity that delivers messages from the dead.
Ah.
And he came home from school with it. It was just a funky, crazy thing he had made. And I was looking at it, and I said, I need to write a story about this guy. And it really all came from him. And
now, how long did it take you? So you got the concept, you see the Squizzard, and now how long did it take you to get the pen on the paper and write the story?
Pretty much right away. Started getting pen to paper. There was about halfway through, had a bit of a writer's block, need a break, but once I got past it, the rest was history.
Did you already have an ending in mind, or did you work towards the ending?
Oh, God, no. Every time I start a story, I'm like, man, I wonder how this is going to end.
Because I interview some authors who say they start backwards. They have the ending, and they start working to the forward. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, that's amazing.
Same. I'm personally like, I get an idea at the beginning, sometimes the middle, and I was like, man, I hope this comes out good.
Now, did you already have in mind, because you know, there's a second book which we want to talk about. Did you already have in mind that there was going to be a second book bouncing off of this? Or is it something that you came up after you were done?
Yep. Publisher was like, we really like trilogies. Think you could do two more? And I was like, I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Was that tough to do? I mean, because I'm pretty sure, that the first book had a definitive ending or so forth. And like, how did you?
When I originally wrote it, it was meant to be a standalone, and but you know, it's not really hard for me to think of how a story can continue. You know, I love telling stories. people talk a lot about how they have trouble with like finding motivation and like getting their ideas going. But for me, I'm like, if I don't do it, the scratchy thoughts in my head are going to drive me crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like motivation comes very easily. I love telling stories, and having something already done, I'm just like, yeah, let's take those characters, let's keep going. We'll figure it out as we go together.
Now, do you do this in your so I'm a huge people watcher, and I like make up stories about people, at restaurants and so forth. Is that something that you do as well?
Mm, no, but that's a great idea. Yeah, sometimes
So fucking
I'll.
fun.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, actually, that's not true. I have compared, like, I have used like people I have seen in real life as descriptors for people in my books. Like one year, I was at a convention and there was a ghost hunter. They were doing a presentation, and later I was like, there was a ghost hunter with white hair, and it was the same guy. So
Now,
yeah, absolutely.
have you ever wrote any of your friends or family into your books, and they read your book and they're like, "Hey, Brianna, that's me, isn't it?"
No, no, luckily.
Okay.
I've definitely taken inspiration, but I don't think anyone has been like that obvious where they look and say, "Hey, wait a minute."
So, what got you into horror writing? I'm assuming you've always been a horror fan.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
what made you decide? You know what? I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to ahead and make stories.
Um, I don't know. When I was in like fifth grade, I wrote a little fantasy story. I wrote it on two pads of yellow legal pad, like the whole thing, filled it up with this silly little like fantasy book that I had in my head. And like I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time, and I loved reading as a kid. So um, after I filled that up, I showed my dad what I had written, and he's like, damn, this girl's gonna need a laptop. So we fixed up this old laptop. It had Word and Solitaire on it, and that was it.
Nice.
And I've been writing ever since.
Now, what was it like? I can imagine right now, when it comes to especially indie horror writing, there's so much content out right now. How was it was it hard to get your book out there? Was it hard to get it in people's hands? Was there challenges when it came to that?
The very first publication, there was some challenges. Getting into the independent publishing industry, not so much. My very first novel got picked up by Permuted Press. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've done some stuff. They originally published John Dies at the End, 14, and I got picked up by then pretty quickly. So actually getting into the independent publishing industry was not very difficult. And then yeah, Red Empress Publishing, who published Shepherd and the Horn Girl and the sequel. I did some agent hunting for a little bit with no bites, but then I started sending to indie publishers, and it got picked up almost right away. And the other when I first got published through Permuted, it was tricky, like marketing and getting the word out there about my book, just because I was new. I don't know anything about marketing and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
still like, ugh, gross. But it has been a little easier, and Red Empress has been super awesome about marketing my books and getting it out there. So that's been a much easier uh, situation for me.
Now, do you do horror conventions as well?
Yes. I've done
They're
a
fun.
handful of local ones, and this year, next year, I'm spreading out, getting more out there. Like next year, I want to go to StokerCon or Texas Frightmare,
Yes.
and yeah.
They are fun. Like I go to a lot of horror conventions for the
I
show.
saw your last one. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm going to one this weekend. Carolina Fear Festival. Well, by the time this is aired, I'll be done with the Carolina Fear Festival. But and one of the things I like doing is I like to talk to a lot of indie authors, and I always buy their book too and an autograph because I like to support indie creators through my channel in real life and crowdfunding, all that good stuff. And I don't know where I was going, but yes, but one of the things I was saying was like, you know, to be an indie author, you have to be your own self promoter. You have to be at these conventions. You also have to be, even if you're not one in real life. Like I am an introvert, but people don't believe that because I have a YouTube channel where I talk to people all the time. But I'm an introvert, but I force myself to be an extrovert, and you have to be that as an author to get people to your table, to get your name out there. And I feel like, a lot of horror writers struggle with that because I feel like the horror community, we're a bunch of introverts.
It's kind of in our nature.
Yeah.
It's like, no, stay away.
Yes.
Back into my basement to write. Absolutely. I totally get that. And I'm the same way. And sometimes you just gotta buckle in and go for it. And luckily the independent publishing culture is very welcoming. Everyone's super cool. So that helps.
It does. 1% does. Now,
in October,
have you ever...
I'm going to be in St. Louis doing Scares That Care. So I'm really excited to meet people there.
Oh, yeah, they just had one. So I'm in Maryland. They just had one in Virginia. Last month or the month before. I was going to go, but shit happened. So I'm definitely going to get there next year.
Yeah, next time.
Yep. Now, the question I have to ask you is, okay, have you ever thought about, so many authors now are doing self-publishing. Is that something that you were ever thinking about doing?
Yeah. After my first book came out, I did actually self-publish the second and third one for that, the one that Permuted Press did. So I did actually self-publish the sequels to that one. But I do kind of prefer having a press at my back, just because I like having that extra set of eyes, editing, professionals looking into this cover art is so awesome.
It is.
I love what they did with it. And, they provide that. They help with the marketing. They're there for, that moral support, which can be such a big help. And so I personally like having that. And for me, and I'm just speaking personally, I kind of feel like it adds like a level of credibility. And maybe that sounds mean to people who self-publish. I absolutely don't mean it that way. It's just my personal feeling.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of saying, "Hey, do you like my book?" And they say, "Yeah." I just want that approval.
Yes. Because I mean, if I was going to be a writer right now, and I know it sounds like this, but I think I would want to go the press route or the publisher route, and maybe once I built my name, maybe go to self-publishing. But I mean,
yeah,
not everybody has that option. So, with self-publishing, it has given a lot of authors a way to get their work out there.
Absolutely, yeah, and you get that, especially with like some books that would necessarily be picked up, like just weird stuff, funky stuff that a press normally wouldn't pick up, but it's still a good story. It's just kind of weird. I've seen some examples, and not all of them are probably YouTube appropriate. Like, I think there's one, it was like The Haunted Vagina or something like that.
I think I saw that one too, yes.
It was a good story. Absolutely. It was really cool. And so, yeah, absolutely. There is that niche where, hell, Chuck Tingle, made a name for himself. I'm pretty sure all of his stuff was self-published before he got big with, I think it was Camp Damascus or, yeah. So
because I mean, there's a lot of body horror books and splatterpunk, and like up until recently, those authors didn't have a place. The publishers didn't want to touch that. And self-publishing was the way for them to get their name out there and get that genre of horror writing out there and gain an audience.
Absolutely. Yep, exactly. And it definitely has an audience.
Yes. All right. So let's shoot over to, the publishing company said, hey, let's make this into a trilogy. And now you start writing The Shepherd and the Reaper. Tell us about that story and tell us about that process, how you were able to swerve from Horn Girl to the Reaper.
Okay, so in this one, we follow our main protagonist, but this time they are leaving the seaside for some solitary and peace in a mountain region with forests, and we find that there are supernatural entities occupying the forest as well. It was interesting while writing this, and I'm about halfway through the third one now, and a theme that I have been following with these that I hadn't actually realized when I first started was the disappearances. So in the first one, we have the ocean, fog. In this one, we have forest. And in the third one, I'm going into mountain and like frozen tundra. And and that's something that has really fascinated me. I saw this documentary, Missing 411. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh, it's really good. And it was, hopefully it is still free on YouTube to watch. Okay. And it's hard for me to wrap my mind around some of these stories where like someone tells a story, like I just turned around for like a minute, and when I looked back, they were gone and they've never been seen again. Wow. And in my head, I'm like, how does that happen? How does someone just poof? And so I kind of like put some supernatural entities behind it, and I'm exploring these different regions. It's the same characters that we're following through the story, but that's the underlying theme that we are presented with, is like a sort of a paranormal explanation behind these unsolved disappearances.
That sounds like an interesting story. Now, knowing that it was going to be, this is a third one that's going to be coming out, were you more prepared to craft your story accordingly?
Nope.
No? Oh. Brandon, seriously? Okay.
You would think, but no, I ended it, yes. Okay. And now I'm like, wait, now what?
You're supposed to say yes.
No. Give me too much credit there, Travis. No, I started third one. It was like, okay, brain, what happens next? So excited to find out.
Now, was it easier writing the second one?
No, the second one took a little bit of playing around with, figuring out what to do next. But actually, the third one has been coming along really easily. So
great.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now, do we have a set day where you're planning on releasing the third one?
It should be, if things go to schedule, should be next year.
Next year? Okay. So are we going to keep the title quiet until then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And definitely not because I haven't thought of it.
Oh. I was like, Brianna, just give me the exclusive.
No, it's definitely a secret, and definitely not because I have no idea what the title is. You think of one, let me know. I've got a theme going, so.
Okay. I'll think of one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll think of one.
We'll go totally out of left field. The Shepherd and the Alien Invasion. Whatever you like.
That would be the Shepherd in Space.
Ooh. Getting Jason X on this.
Yes, yes. Anytime you take a character in space, that means you done ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
It means you completely ran out of fucking ideas once you take them in space.
Yeah, like that's when you know, like, franchise over.
Like they want another movie. I have no more ideas, so let me take them to space. I mean,
Yes.
that would be it.
Go space. Let's head into space.
Yes. All right, Brianna. Since you're a fan of the show, what do you think I'm going to do next?
Ooh.
I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh, like a trivia episode would be pretty fun.
But you know what? I'm thinking about doing a trivia show eventually.
That would be cool.
I found out somebody's already doing that. I've been thinking about that for the last year. Then I found out recently that somebody's actually already doing it. I was like, oh, shit. But
that's okay. Still have fun with it.
Yes. But dating show is going to come. Horror dating show is going to come. I'm telling you, that is morbid matchmaking is coming, guys. It was supposed to come last week, but, you know, the guest had some issues and couldn't make it. But look for morbid matchmaking next month.
Hell yeah.
Yes. All right. The first question. What iconic horror villain do you feel like you relate to the most?
Oh, the one I relate to the most?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one. You know, the the Babadook strikes true, or Pennywise, because I also don't like kids.
Okay.
Well, I'm also like, yeah, let's scare them kids.
Yeah. I worked in a haunted house 2 years ago, and I love scaring kids. Like, it was so much fun. Anytime a new kids had come around, it was a blast. I went on full force.
Absolutely. And I don't mean that maliciously. Like,
no.
Kids love to be scared. Like,
yeah. All right.
So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Pennywise. I'm like, yeah, let's just, like,
yes. Let's abduct kids and scare the shit out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, the second question. All right, you're going to have to be roommates with one of these iconic horror characters for a month. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Pinhead, Freddy Krueger, or is it going to be Pearl?
Now, Pearl is the one from that A24 movie?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Out of those 3, I feel like Pinhead would be the quietest.
Yeah.
Freddy is very, he's very talkative, and I'll have bad dreams, of course.
He's going to be cracking bad jokes all the time.
Of course, with Pearl, we can, totally girl power it, braid each other's hair.
Yes.
But
don't piss her off.
But I could go for Pinhead. I mean, he seems quiet. We'll solve. I love puzzles. We'll solve puzzles together. Hit up an escape room sometime. I think that'll work out.
Pinhead. That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
And all right, the final question. What horror franchise are you tired of? Like, are you like, you know what? No more. Please, no more sequels, no more remakes, no more reboots. I'm done.
For me, it's the Saw series.
Why the Saw series?
I thought the first one was really cool, great idea. But as it progressed, the villain and his motivation just got kind of cuckoo, and it all became about torture porn, which is fine, but I'm not big on just gore for gore's sake. In the first one, it made sense. It really puts you on edge. This one room, sawing off the leg, and now by movie 5, we got a whole mansion of so many other rooms with booby traps, and traps that you're like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
So I feel like the first one was just so good that the rest of the franchise hasn't been able to live up to it, personally speaking.
I thought the same way as you until I saw Saw X. If you watch my interviews before Saw X came out, I was talking so bad, like, oh, this is gonna be the biggest piece of shit ever. Why? Who's asking for a Saw 10? Like, who? But Saw 10 was so good, and I agree with you. They should stop right there, no more. Because I agree with you. After Saw 1, maybe 2, it was like I checked out. I checked out after I think 3 or 4. I completely checked out because it was the same thing. But also, too, his, like you said, his motivation. Okay, I'm going to torture bad people, but then like you started seeing like, is this person really that bad? I mean, yeah, they worked at a shitty company that was stealing money from people, but she was a secretary. She had kids. What was she supposed to do? Like,
Yeah,
does she deserve to get her head fucking ripped off? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I start feeling bad for the bad people, and like, yeah, it just got a little too much for me.
Some vigilantism would have been pretty good for Jigsaw, I think.
Yeah,
Taking out student loans, you know, CEOs.
Yeah, exactly. Some politicians and shit like that. But like, but how are you going to kill the politician's secretary? Like, what does she do? She has no power.
Right. Yeah, she's just trying to make a paycheck.
She's trying to make a paycheck. Like,
have you seen Spiral yet?
I saw Spiral in the movie theaters. I did not like Spiral. I was excited for Spiral too. Yeah. I saw Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock. I'm like, this is gonna be interesting. Yeah. Wasn't a fan.
At least at least there's X. So maybe I'll give that one a try.
Yeah, give it. It's extreme. It is probably the most extreme Saw movie, but it's definitely my second favorite beyond the original.
Okay, awesome.
So yep. So I hope they end it right there. But my number one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't want to see another Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever again. Like, done with that.
Yeah.
All right.
With you there. When they did the reboot, I was just like,
yeah, it was just reboot after reboot, and like, I'm good. All right, Brianna, where can everyone find you?
Oh man, so I am on Facebook, Brianna Bright Author on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, BJ Bright Author, and on Instagram I am Brie Elzebub. Okay. And I do also have a Tumblr if anyone still does Tumblr. That's a Children's Story Hour.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody, get over there and follow Brianna, and also grab her 2 books, The Shepherd and the Reaper, and The Shepherd and the Horn Girl, and look out for The Shepherd going into space.
Yes. Book number 4. Book number 10. It's coming at you. Brianna, thanks so much for having me here. This has been
no problem. Listen, it was a blast to have you on. Listen, when The Shepherd Goes into Space comes out next year, I would love to have you back on. We can talk
Absolutely. Yes. I want to talk more horror movies with you.
Yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Brianna Bright. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.